Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Porch Talk. This is episode 33. This is our Week 6 preview and picks. Before we get started, we want to send out thoughts and prayers to everybody that's been affected by this awful storm. We have mentioned in our Facebook posts and even last week a little bit before it happened, just devastation through all Southwest Virginia, into North Carolina, and Tennessee as well. As we mentioned on Facebook, that's why we're not having a player interview or a coach interview this week. It's just, I know that I just got power back yesterday, and we're still trying to recover, lost all our groceries, and we had to restock, clean up, do all this stuff. So we had to do things, some housekeeping things. I think me and Jamar both agree we didn't want to ask a player or a coach to come on and be going through all that in their own home and have to worry about an interview. So we're flying solo this week, but again, our thoughts and prayers are out to everybody. I did want to kind of shout out some of these communities. I have been very impressed with a lot of the football teams, and well, not just football teams. I saw some like volleyball teams and just schools. A lot of the players have been putting together meals and stuff to serve to the community, as well as a lot of local law enforcement. So again, shout out to all of you guys. Just amazing stuff. I love seeing how Southwest Virginia and just everywhere around here is kind of coming together during a time like this. And also, I've mentioned on Facebook, I'm going to shout out all the other local podcasts around here, because I know that we might not have had the opportunity to be on the grounds kind of handing out stuff, but through the means that we have, anytime we saw somebody post something saying, hey, we're having meals here at this time, or we need supplies at this location, all the podcasts were doing great by just sharing that as quick as they can, getting it out to people. Just shouting out just all the local podcasts around here as well. Jamar, I'm going to send it to you for a few things.
The whole small areas like this, it seems like times like this, it really shows the character of places and people that live in them, and people tend to really respond and step up and do things for people, for strangers, and it's just it's great to see it. Like you said, a lot of schools and people just stepping up. We've seen firsthand here not that long ago what flood damage can do, and it can be very devastating. It's just one of those things, man, where it's like you can't really prepare enough for it. Like, you don't know what, you can prepare so much, but you don't know exactly what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and how it's going to happen. We live in a place where there's not a whole lot of things to worry about like that. You know what I mean? Like most of the time, flash floods are about it. Winds, some of the surrounding areas, occasionally some snow, but power outage. But as far as massive flooding like the southeast, really Tennessee and North Carolina have experienced, man, it's just nothing you can really. You can't prepare for stuff like that. But like you said, people stepping up and doing the right thing and getting out and taking their time and their energy and money, and everybody has the resources to probably help out as much as what they want to, but every little bit helps, and people just kind of do what they can. Shout out some schools. Obviously, I'm going to leave out people. This is not just like particular people that I just picked out. It's just the people that I've seen come across my timeline the last few days. Sure, there've been more that I've just looked over or forgot about, or I'm sure there's more people doing things. But I want to give these people a shout out. You kind of had the same idea before we got on here to record. We had the same idea already, so that just kind of cool how that worked out. We didn't talk about that before, but Holdings, Boy Logan and his wife Izzy, and Mark and Crystal, they, their company, they're going to load up and haul supplies down to North Carolina, I think. Shout out to them. They stepped up also when the flooding last time, and then they get involved and do a lot of things. So shout out to them for that. And Shannon Adams, I seen in the picture with them loading up a trailer, trying to get, and they're having a hard time. It seems like finding pallets of water. For whatever reason, these places, I guess, can't sell it because I don't guess they don't want to run out. Maybe I don't know what the problem is, but if anybody hears this and wants to help them out, they're going to load up and take a trailer. They might have already left. I don't know for sure, but they're doing the same thing. Taking their time going down. Brian Beavers posted he's going to have his horse trailer beside the 4-lane. I'm not sure where, Wardell maybe. Anybody wants to bring anything by there and load it up, he's gonna pull a trailer full of stuff and supplies down. Shout out to him. And then Rocky Hill got the God Rock Stars thing where they help out do a lot of community service work, and he's involved in helping out and stuff like that. I'm not sure if he's hauling or if he's just supplying, but shout out to him. And those are just a few people. It's just it seems like a small thing to say, oh, just haul some stuff down, but I mean, it's a long drive. It's time out of your day. They're missing work. They're not missing work during the weekend. It's time. It's a lot of sacrifice, a lot of organizing. So anything they can do like that, you got to give them a shout out for it. I wish I could do more. Times like this, I wish there was. I find myself wanting to do more, but I mean, if you don't have resources or things, but like as far as donating, that's enough, man. Whatever you can do, every little bit helps. So if you're in a position like I am, and you don't really have like a whole lot, you want to do a whole lot, but you can't do a whole lot. Just do something. Figure something out. Send somebody some money or just whatever you can spare. Like I said, every little thing helps. Government's sure not going to help anybody out, and that's not a knock on the current administration. That's a knock on government in general. Republican, Democrat, I don't care. You can't rely on government to ever step up and help. They probably do things that help people, I'm sure. But when it comes down to it, the American people, man, they always tend to. You hear these stories. They step up for people. They help each other out. I mean, that's just how it is, and it's. I mean, obviously, you find things like this, and you see the silver linings, and you see the spirit of people. Man, it's really inspiring. Really, I mean, seeing all these videos and pictures, it's devastating. But then seeing the instant action of just regular old American citizens stepping up and doing things, it's really a good thing to see. I mean, to go off on a little bit of a tangent there at the end, but mainly just want to shout them out. But just come to me, man. People, you can't rely on. We don't need to get in that conversation, but anyway, shout out to those people and shout out to all the other people I didn't mention that I've not seen. Thoughts and prayers are with all these families. We didn't have any. We lost internet. It's all we lost. We were extremely fortunate to not lose power. When everyone around us, it seemed like, lost power. People out there, that have lost loved ones and still looking for people and lost entire, everything they have. Like, it's just devastating to see it, man. I couldn't even imagine. You know what I'm saying? So some prayers are with them people. Basically, what I'm trying to say, and hope that I mean, all you can really hope for here, I guess, is just that just hopefully everyone's at least found and not missing for a long time. But even if it's a terrible thing that happens, at least they can find some comfort knowing, that'd be the worst thing, I think. But anyway, I'll get off this before I get too sad and bring the mood down. We got to talk about a little bit of football, but.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, the devastation, especially in, Eastern Tennessee, over towards like Unicoi County, and Asheville, even in Damascus, it seemed to be pretty bad. And I mean, it's bad everywhere, but those areas definitely have been across the web. Yeah, like you said, thoughts and prayers to them. And I know that we are a sports podcast, so I do want to, give a shout out while I was sitting here thinking about it. A lot of these games we're going to talk about this past week and even going on into this week, it's been probably a headache for a lot of the ADs and coaches and even the players to kind of make all this happen. And I know it's a very brief break from reality, getting to go out there and playing a game. But shout out to the schools, the ADs, the coaches, the players that have had to try to reschedule these games sometimes 3, 4, 5 times, and for them to get out there and complete those games, and even going forward into this week play. I know that it's a game, and in comparison to what's going on, it's not quite that big, but it's still, I respect the effort they have put into that, and I think that deserves to be recognized.
Yeah, I mean, the saying, sports help heal people. And I'm not saying sports going to bring, power back on or replace anything, but like you said, it is a distraction. It is a thing that, at least for a brief moment, like, can have a little something to take your minds off what's going on. I mean, you nailed it. That's just the things the hurdles that some of these teams have had to jump through to get games in. And just for like an example, Union and Gate City the other night was planning on playing. Power went out again. Had to go to Dobbins Bennett just to play, stuff like that. Heard a thing, Graham. Basically, everybody hadn't had power all week. Pre-game meal was peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Like, I mean,
Yeah, I had some stuff on it. Yeah.
it's not normal, and for them to even be able to get in the right mind frame to play a football game, shout out to all these schools, the officials, the parents, the fans for still getting out and supporting. It's just a crazy time, crazy week here around here. So, but hopefully, hopefully we can get, hopefully everything will we can get past it and rebuild and get everyone, hopefully just, I hate to even say hopefully everyone gets out of this safe because I've already had fatalities, but wishing the best for everyone out there and we can hopefully get people back right.
So we'll get started with some of this, some of the football stuff that I'm sure some of y'all came here to check out. Just to explain very briefly the structure of the episode we have this week, it is, well, it might be familiar to some of our day one followers, and shout out to you guys because I know there is some out there that have spoke to us. You all may have remembered maybe, I guess it's about this time last year, wasn't it? Maybe a few weeks prior to this last year that we started, but we would do high school, we would do UFC, we would do NFL, college, and it was just kind of a mixture of everything. So this episode is going to be kind of like that. We're definitely going to highlight week 6 and high school first, and probably talk a lot more about that than the other stuff. But we're just going to give our high points on the upcoming UFC card and the NFL college slate. Like I said, we won't be diving deep into it, but just some of the high points. But with that being said, we're going to get started on our week 6 preview and pick'ems. So before we get started, we do want you to be aware that most of our stats are from the Bristol paper. We also get some from our stat guy, John Ward. Shout out to him. In this episode, I ain't told you this, Jay Moore, but if you've watched After the Whistle, they done it, I think, last week briefly. And I thought about doing this a few weeks ago. But I'm gonna start sharing some of the game lines for each game per the Southwest Virginia Sportsbook. Of course, this is not an actual sportsbook. We make that clear. No actual money is involved.
Wink, wink.
And the lines aren't real. It's hypothetical, but it's still a fun thing to share. It's kind of, I guess, people that follow this maybe more than we do decided to put some numbers on it. So I like to share it at least and see how far maybe we are from them or whatever the case may be.
Now that you've covered the legal side of it, anybody that wants to place anything, just hit us up.
Yeah. There you go. All right. We're going to start with our first game. It's Honaker 2-3 at Chilhowie 2-2. Chilhowie is a 1.5 point favorite. They are doing the Friday Night Rivals at Chilhowie this week. So I don't know if that was scheduled to be somewhere else. I think it was. And then they decided to move it for the Honaker and Chilhowie game. So second game this year for Honaker on the Friday Night Rivals. I don't know how long it's been since Chilhowie's had one there. Not real sure, but Honaker is coming off of a 42-8 loss to Grundy last week. They led 8-0 in that game, but then Grundy scored 42 unanswered. Jay Moore, you was at this game. What were your thoughts on Honaker right now? We'll get to Grundy here in a little bit.
A little bit undersized on the lines, both of them, compared to the teams that have played, especially here recently. Can't get in the rhythm. They put a few plays together, and then it just kind of stalls out. I don't know enough to know exactly what the issue is. Just don't seem to be clicking. Game, maybe like I said, the undersized line maybe is a problem with the run game. I don't know. Obviously, people are doubling Avery and trying to take him out of the equation, especially on a deep ball. it's just not. There's nothing there easy for them right now. And again, kind of undersized for the teams they're playing. They're not a big team. If you can run it on them, you're going to have success. It seems like so far. That's basically their issue right now. For I can tell, it's not a lack of effort. They play hard, at least from what I've watched. I think it's just one of them deals, man. They're a little undermanned, and don't quite have the horses this year to compete with some of these better teams in single A.
Yeah, and we both thought this would be a close game. I think you may have even picked Grundy last week. I can't remember.
Yeah, I did.
Um,
I
yeah.
didn't know if it would be close. I can't remember what I exactly said. I thought Homenecker had a chance to keep it close if they could attack downfield and get the passing game going, but it just never really got. The only touchdown they scored was because of a Grundy fumble on like the inside the 5-yard line, and granted they did score obviously, but they never got. I don't think they ever got. While I was there, I left at the start of the fourth, but I don't think they ever really threatened the red zone again for that.
Did the weather have any impact on the game, in your opinion?
I mean, it looked like there was some, as far as like footing goes, maybe it wasn't the best field to be able to cut and explode out of. Field looked like it was in great shape considering. I'm sure it was still a little muddy. Maybe maybe it was more. Maybe it was better for a little bit more of a north-south run game than kind of what Homenecker brings to the table with some routes and trying to spread around. But I wouldn't say it was. I mean, it may have had, like I said, it may have had a little bit of a factor, but it was a small percent compared, especially defensively. I think it didn't matter what field it was on as far as stopping Grundy's run game. Maybe receivers get in and out of breaks a little faster, and there's a little more. I mean, it shouldn't have been wet that I know of. The ball might have got muddy. I mean, they changed balls in and out pretty well. It wasn't raining. It never rained the whole time. So I mean, the field probably was a little damp, maybe, but it shouldn't have affected the actual, passing and catching part of it. Maybe it affected their getting in and out of routes. I don't know. I wouldn't put it as a big factor.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it was a zero factor, but it wasn't a big factor. I don't think from watching. I mean, if you ask somebody that was playing on the field, they may say, "Yeah, it was a problem." But I wasn't. I wasn't out there, so I don't know how hard it was. But I wouldn't put it a big. I mean, it might have been a little closer. I just think Grundy's. Like I said, I think Honecker's a little undermanned this year. I think Grundy's a lot better than people had anticipated they were going to be. But it's probably still going to be a more of a one-sided game, I think. But I don't know that it would have been that bad. But you just never know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll get to Grundy more here in a minute, but I agree with you. We both had mentioned it, and I mean, you mentioned before the season even started. I think they were your pick to kind of be the surprise team this year, and I think that we mentioned it the past few weeks that they were better than what the record shows. I didn't know they were 42-8 better than Honecker, and play that game 10 times. It may not be like that every time, but I do think Honecker has enough talent to be a playoff team this year, and who knows, by the end of the year, find their stride, and may go on a run, or may upset a team in the first round. They could be a dangerous team, to draw if you're a high seed or you're a top seed, and then you happen to draw them. You just never know. But the thing is you're going to have to start getting some wins, because I hate to say it like this, but you can't wait forever. If the losses start piling up, you're going to be in a situation where you're really having to fight to get in, maybe with the last spot there at the end. I think, this week is, I think we said it last week, or maybe the week before. I think the Holston game, we may have said it was kind of like a must win. Well, this Chilhowie game is almost like a must. Well, almost every game from now on is almost like a must win for Honecker, because they're going to have to win just enough to squeak by some of these teams that might be, like Royal Retreat, Chilhowie, them, Holston. They might all end up around the same area. as far as your wins losses go. And Chilhowie's one that we've talked about too. They're kind of, we thought they'd be a little better at the beginning of the year, and I kind of wrote them off after they lost to Narrows, but then they played Eastside kind of tough. So, who knows? Chilhowie was off last week, so they should be well rested. So, do you have anything else before we pick this
just real
one?
quick, turnovers again. I think I can't remember how many they actually had, but it seems like they've had a problem with turning the ball over also, which doesn't help when you're never, even when you're a very good team, it doesn't help. As far as playoffs go, they're going to be in the playoffs because you take they've already beat Holston. So even if the Hogle Heat gets 4 teams, Cumberland's probably only getting Eastside, Rycove, and really, I guess that's probably it. Maybe Twin Springs makes it in. So let's say 3 there, so that's 7. The BDD's getting Grundy in, so that's 8. So like you really got, they're going to probably make the playoffs. 8 teams go. So they could probably. I don't know. I don't want to say this like as a dig, but they could probably not win a game the rest of the year and have a good chance at still being the 8th seed. But no, I think they got to win a couple more, obviously. But I think they will probably win a couple more. I don't know what their schedule is, but I think they'll make the playoffs. I just think they'll be a 8 or a 7 seed probably right now, maybe a 6, depending. I'm not sure how it all work out. But yeah, I wouldn't want to. If I was a 1, 2, or 3 seed, I wouldn't want to play them first round.
No,
because
absolutely not.
You might know that you could take advantage and move the ball on them right now as they are now, but with a quarterback like they have and Avery, and if the other players are only going to get better throughout the season, I wouldn't want to have to deal with Gardner. Because you never know with an offense like that, they could figure some stuff out and be be rolling. So I don't think I'd want to have to go up against that offense in the playoffs as a high seed.
Yeah, and it's almost like a basketball team. They could go on a run and score 21 in a quarter.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah,
before you know it. I did pull up their schedule while we were talking. They are, 2-3 right now. But Chilhowie this week, it's going to be a close game. Could go either way. Narrows next week, they beat Chilhowie. So depending on how this week goes, you never know about that game. Then they got a very tough game in Patrick Henry. They're at Northwood, which I think would be a win for them.
Should be, yeah.
But then they got Rural Retreat.
Yeah, so it's going to be all district games. So other than those 2, but win against Northwood, maybe win one of these district games, finish 4th in a district or something, 3rd, 4th. You're getting in the playoffs. It's just because Twin Valley and Hurley's probably not, as far as especially the schedule they play. They don't play even if they were the same record. Their strength of schedules aren't going to be enough. Because Homeacre's lost to Lebanon, and they've played some good teams. Castlewood and Burton, some of those teams in the Cumberland like that, they're probably not getting in. So they're probably going to be there as far as that goes.
Well, we'll go ahead and give our picks for this one. My pick, I'm going with Homeacre. I think it's going to be a dogfight. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be a good test to see how they pick themselves back up after the Grundy game. Because I think more than anything, that was probably a hard mental game because you come off of that high beating Holston and kind of thinking that, we're back on track. And then, the Grundy game happened the way it did. So I have Homeacre winning I feel like almost like a must-win situation to get to where they really want to be. But I have them winning 28-24 in a close one.
Do you know anything about Chilhowie? What kind of style they run offensively? They're running team, passing team.
Yeah, I think they run a little bit too, but I'm not very familiar with
I'm
what
not
kind
either.
of system they have.
I hate to do it. I just on the road, Chilhowie coming off a bye, coming into it, going to probably have some new stuff to show that's not on film yet. The week, the tough week Homeacre's probably had as far as preparing for this game. No power. I think a lot of people over there, you didn't get yours back till yesterday. I know a guy at work lives over there. He still don't have his back on yet. With everything they're dealing with, which Chilhowie's probably dealing with some stuff too. I don't know. I don't have that confidence in them going into on the road like that and stopping the run. But I also don't know anything about Joe Howie, so I was going to pick Joe Howie. I just don't know enough about them. I'll go with the Tigers just because they're closer to home and know more about them. Wicks, hopefully, get them. We like Coach Wicks. He's a great coach. I think he's gonna have them ready. So I just talked myself right out of that pick mid sentence. So I'll go with Honecker, but I don't know what the score will be. I mean, I think if they win, it's gonna be a high score. I'm gonna go 36-30.
I think I may be wrong on this, but Narrows, I think, ran the ball pretty effectively on them when they played Joe Howie. I may be wrong, but I think Jackson Dye, that's a name Shane mentioned last week, and we mentioned him briefly here and there, but I think he might have a huge game this week, kind of taking the load off of Avery and Peyton a little bit in this game. I don't know that, based on the Narrows game, I don't know how great Joe Howie is up front. So, this next one, and you mentioned it to me earlier in the week, being a very intriguing game. Tazewell 2-2 at Grundy 1-3 per the sports book. Grundy is a 13.5 point underdog, which actually is not.
No, that's probably
not
accurate.
real bad.
Yeah, that's probably.
Tazewell's coming off. Go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Well, the Tazewell was coming off a lopsided loss against powerhouse team in Princeton. That score was 70-13. Grundy, like we had mentioned, coming off of their first win of the season, beating Honecker 42-8. Trey Taylor had a heck of a game. He was Grundy's Bellasino's Player of the Week. 15 carries, 119 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. He had a catch for 25 yards and touchdown. Jamar, you was at that game, as we mentioned. What was your thoughts on Grundy?
A little sloppy starting off there. It had a few, had, like I said, a turnover, but riding the ship pretty quick. Wasn't explosive, kind of get on the edges or, big plays like we seen against Patrick Henry a week ago. But very, very steady, very consistent. Just run the ball. Basically just use that line and those backs just to basically get what they wanted as far as big chunks here and there, 5, 6, 7 yards of carry at least probably. Then every now and again they'd break one and go, but they had they used everybody. They wasn't one pony show. Defensively, I thought they did great defensively. They, like I said, had a safety over top of Avery all the time. Everybody else, they give up a few yards here and there, but for the most part, they'd always stand, get a stop. Had a block punt that helped a lot. I mean, they just had a solid game. As like I said, they're much more physical and a lot bigger up front than Honecker was. Yeah, nothing flashy, just good old fashioned run it at you, and they couldn't stop them. I think the only weakness, really, not the only weakness, I guess, because obviously you can pick out things. The biggest thing I could see moving forward and going into playoffs is their kicking game. They're not able to. I mean, they kicked one a little farther than what they had been. They kicked it down to about the 30 or 20, but it's getting returned. Obviously, then their kicking game may come back to them in a close game down the road, especially like somebody like a Tazewell. That might be something to watch for them. It might come back to be a problem, but right now, the single A right now. I mean, you just kind of got to be. You kind of you can't just kick it just be kicking it. I mean, if you got guys back there and you can't kick it deep enough, you might as well go ahead and just kick, squib kick it. So I'm sure they're, doing what they can do with that, but just keep an eye on it later on. As far as Tazewell goes against Grundy, I'm very intrigued to see, because I've not got to watch Tazewell play this year. I feel like Grundy's going to be a little outmatched athletically across, not every position, obviously, because Grundy's got some athletes, but size-wise, I heard, Tazewell's apparently, the line's huge, apparently, which, Grundy's got some big guys up front. Just height and speed-wise on the edges and at the skill positions, I don't know that Grundy can match up for a full, for a full game. I think if they can run the ball and kill some clock and effective with that early, they can hang around and maybe even hang around longer. It just depends on how well they can defend Hazel. That's the main thing, I think. Because even if they can run the ball effectively, if you can't get off the field against Hazel at some point, they're going to put points up on you. So, Tazle's a very talented team and got Creasy and those receivers, and that it's going to be hard to stop. But I'll probably go to that one. I think it'll be a good game, at least for a little bit. And more than that, I just want to watch. I want to watch Tazzle play. I've not got to watch him yet.
Yeah.
Speaking of Grundy, what a brutal schedule starting out for them. I know
it's
they're getting a lot
ridiculous.
of power points for that, but my goodness, they're playing a 2-way schedule basically right now, starting out.
That's like Carroll County too, and
Carroll County's 3. I don't know how good they are, but they're 3A. Then you got Ridgeview, who's a good Mountain 7 team. It's just obviously I think Honecker and Patrick Henry, but Patrick Henry's a very good 1A team. So you can't. But now you got another a good 2A team coming in. That's just I think they got some tough games left also. So, but yeah, if they can survive the regular season, they'll be a good playoff team. Hopefully, they don't they can get through these next 5 weeks. But
they're very battle tested, and and the point with Tazewell, I feel like we haven't really got a good measuring stick on Tazewell yet for this season. I mean, we know how great Creasy is and how great that offense was last year. On paper, we know how good their line, should be. But they played 2 very good teams this year in Riverheads and, Princeton.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to see, with them on those games where they're at. And then they beat Fort Chiswell and Richlands. They killed both of them. And, both of those teams have been struggling this year. So it's, again, hard to see where Tazewell's at.
Yeah.
On paper, I agree with you. I think Tazewell has the superior roster. I mean, they have playmakers everywhere. And that's not to sell Grundy short. I mean, I'll talk about them here in a second because I think they have a lot of very special players. But Tazewell, across the board from top to bottom, they probably do have the better roster. Grundy has that 3-headed rushing attack with Taylor, who just had a big game, Deal, and Logan Lester. And, with Logan, I think after the whistle kind of summed it up pretty perfect on their episode they released today. He is maybe one of the best, you could probably put him in the top 5 best players in this region. He's done amazing this season so far against stiff competition we've already spoke on. So, we're just going to keep watching him and enjoying the time that we have with him until he graduates. Just a special player to watch. If you Tazzle people that haven't watched him and that are listening, he's one to watch for Friday night because he can totally change a game. No matter how the game's going, he can just go off. But yeah, they could sneak up on the Bulldogs. I mean, you never know. I don't know if it's supposed to rain Friday night. That field, you don't know how it could get. I think after the whistle, they mentioned that it could rain, but I think last year the same thing happened between them. It rained. So, yeah, I don't know. For me, I guess if we're going to go ahead and go into the picks, I'm going to have Tazewell winning. But I think the way I see this game playing out is I see Tazewell coming out and is jumping to a very early lead, having a very impressive first quarter, maybe a little bit into the second. Then I see Grundy kind of settling in and having a really good second half, and maybe half of that second quarter, kind of showing defensively they can kind of hang with them, making a few plays on offense. The score, I think in this game, the score is not really going to indicate how close of a game that it might feel like it is at the end. I have Tazewell 46 to Grundy 28.
Yeah, I kind of agree with about everything you said. I kind of see it more. I don't know, some reason I kind of see Grundy maybe jumping out and hanging with them early instead of the other way around, and then Tazewell pulling away late. The wearing them down, the numbers issue. Grundy's, they got a lot of players, but they're still single A. So I don't know how many go 2 ways. I don't know how many go 2 ways for Tazewell, but I'm sure it's more than Grundy's got. I'm coming for Grundy. It's going to be a big night down there. And just to echo what you said about Logan, like he's very dynamic. You see him and you know he's not small but like smaller, I guess, compared to like a lot of other backs and stuff. But it's just physical as it gets as far as running the ball. He will lay a hit, can take a hit. It's a very good runner. He can throw it. Their thing, like they don't do it a lot, but he's very capable. And they got speed on that. And I remember his name, Gordon. Maybe as fast. They got some guys out there with some speed that they get open field. Maybe hit them on a screen or just a little out. Could surprise Taz a little bit. That's why I said maybe early on they hang with him, and then maybe Taz will make some adjustments. Really, the key to the game is Grundy's defense. I really feel like they'll be able to move the ball at least for a while. I just feel like defensively they're gonna have a hard time. You say the score, your final score, 46 to
Yeah, at 46-28,
28.
Taz was jumping out early with
Yeah,
a good margin, but then kind of settling in throughout the
I can
rest
see
of the
it being
game.
a little. Honestly, the field is. I mean, it's rained on and off the last few days. It's probably going to rain a little bit more before it's over with. I don't know what the forecast actually is for Friday, but I can see that ground still being a little soft and maybe it being a little lower scoring. I think you're all over it though. I think the thing you said about the final score not indicating how close it was is probably really accurate. I go 30, 32, 216, something like that, 32-18, depending on conversions. But I really hope it's a closer game. I'm not really, I don't want to say I'm pulling for anybody, but I'd really like to see Grundy come out and really, make a good game out of it because, like I said, I'm going to pay to get in, so I'd like to see a shootout. But I think what you said, I'll use it all over it, but pretty much, and um, I'm really looking forward to it. I hope we're right about it being competitive.
Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned at the beginning of the week it was going to be a game to watch. So I think you probably have the was it the crystal ball there? I think that you could be right. It could be I mean, there's a lot of potential blowouts this week, but there are some games that could be sneaky to where you don't something could happen. I think that's one of them.
So here's a question: we didn't really not go into it a lot. What was the line on the? Funny to say line. I'm talking about what was the line on the
I know.
Hurricane Helene game? What did they
The
say?
Honecker Chilhowie game was 1.5 for Chilhowie,
1.5.
favorite,
Okay. Well, that's
and
not really.
then
So this one was 14 and a half.
13.5. But
13 and a
yeah,
half. So my question was,
for yeah,
you don't have Grundy covering then? You
they're
don't.
close. I mean, more like a moral victory. I think
I
yeah.
wonder.
But,
I'd like to know what they would have set the over under. I'm taking the under, but I think Grundy will struggle to. I think they'll get just close enough to almost cover, but I'm with you. Probably just come up short of covering that spread, but we'll see.
yeah. We should have set. We might do that in the future. We
We
should
need to,
set
yeah.
our
I
over
like
unders
I
for
like
the
the idea of doing something like
score.
that. That's fun.
Yeah. All right. This next one is John Battle 0-4 at Lebanon 4-0. Lebanon is a 34.5 point favorite. I want to throw this out.
How much?
34.5.
34 and a half.
Yeah. So I want to throw this out there. Apologies for not previewing the game last week for Lebanon and Richlands. I don't know how we missed that. I had stuff wrote down for it.
Technically, we can preview it because they're not played yet, right? So
yeah. So I was going to say, that game got postponed, so it made it a little bit better on us, I guess. But I threw on there. I kind of predicted who you thought would win. Put it on the post. I think I was right.
you got it right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that game didn't happen. But again, apologies for that. We don't typically, especially miss one that's right down the road from us.
Now,
But,
are they playing? Are they going to play Monday or
so
next
it
week?
was supposed to happen 2 days ago, this past Monday. It got postponed, and they've not announced a date yet. I hate to keep bringing it up, but I just listened to After the Whistle today, and that's the only episode that's dropped this week of their local podcast. Coach Moore is out there at Richlands, and he had made mention, not necessarily Richlands, but maybe some teams throughout Southwest Virginia in the future might have to play 3 games in 1 week. like a Friday, had to play on a Monday, then had to play on a Friday again, like in a week span.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if potentially that could be what Lebanon and Richlands has to do. That's going to be a tricky thing and something to watch going forward because you don't want to max like all those games up like that right before the playoffs. So if I was scheduling, I mean, it sucks, but I would like to get that out of the way here pretty soon. I wouldn't want to try to, because the risk of injury increases without the rest. So I
if at all
definitely want that to
possible.
happen.
I wonder who makes that. Who is it ultimately the home team that kind of, if both teams have a conflict, if they decide and if they do or don't play? Because
Yeah.
what if both teams what if one team has like a game they're willing to play the same week as maybe like a weaker opponent, but the other one doesn't? Like, which team decides, hey, yeah, we're not doing this? Or
I think that's a great question, and we've had ads on here before, and I've never thought to even ask them that. I think that would be a great question. We have some ads that watch this. I think P Wade, he's a listener. Maybe he can let us know, and which more. I think he's an AD at Twin Valley, right? So
I mean,
so maybe somebody can tell us because
I
I
think
assume that
think he's the AD at Richlands now too. Right?
I don't know.
If
But
if we were a real podcast, we'd FaceTime somebody right now like everybody else does, and just
yeah. Yeah, that's true. Which I think I have a sneaky suspicion that they kind of let them know sometimes, like, "Hey, we might do this,"
yeah.
but I don't know.
I don't know. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I really don't know.
Yeah, that is something to watch out for, though. And yeah, I don't know who makes those calls. I'd imagine it would be they would compromise and talk, and then I guess if it got to the point where they were heated enough to where they couldn't make a decision, somebody would have to step in. But I don't know who that would be. I'd say it doesn't get to that point very often, but you never know in a
I
big
think
time game and a rival.
both of those teams have a bye week at some point coming up. I don't think either one's had a bye yet, so hopefully that could work out. Maybe somebody,
Yeah,
they could get that done. But
yeah, and that does work out in that case. I think there is some other teams. I think Y Central might be one that has been off 2 weeks, I believe now, so that might be a little bit more difficult.
But 34.5 points is,
a wide margin, very wide margin. And most of it has to do with, Lebanon has been red hot this year. We've talked about them. We've had Reese and Baker on the podcast. We've talked about Jesse, their big back, freshman guy. Coach Norris has done a great job already, so quick, just creating a culture and a winning mindset there. And they're a show to watch every week right now. So John Battle, on the other hand, they've been struggling this year. Last week, they only had 140 total yards against PH. Their running back, Marshall Green, he had pretty much over half of that. He had 74 yards in that game. And from what I read, Battle's dealing with a lot of injuries on top of that. And then you pair that up with it also being a short week because they played Monday. And now they're going to have to play Lebanon this week, or, this Friday.
Who did they play Monday?
Patrick Henry.
That was Patrick Henry. What was the final?
A physical game.
What was the final score of it?
I'd have to. Let me.
That's
one second.
I thought maybe you had it in notes.
I do. Yeah. So that game. Well, I thought I did. It was a lopsided victory. I can't remember the exact score. For whatever reason, I didn't write it down. But yeah, they won pretty handily.
I'm just trying to get around that 34.5. What if I'm taking the cover or not. I was trying to get an idea about what the score of that one was. But
yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, they're dealing with some injuries that they mentioned on there. Yeah, they've just been struggling this year. I think they got a first-year head coach. Might be wrong, but I hate to use the term rebuilding a lot.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's overused, but I think they are, like I said, dealing with the injuries and just unfortunate circumstances over there. So I think they'll get it right, but I don't think it's this week. Do you have anything before we pick it?
No, just obviously, Lebanon's one of the better quarterbacks in the area, and if not the state, and especially to be young. I think people forget how was he sophomore or junior this year.
He's a junior. I think him and Baker both are juniors this year, and then Jesse's a freshman.
So they're and they got weapons too around them that they didn't have last year. They got a couple of extra guys out, but again, their schedule is allowing them to. It is not a knock on them at all, but they're not got into the teeth of their Southwest District schedule yet. I think most of those games are late in the year, which I think is good for them. I think getting that momentum and all that confidence built up going into those games, I think it'll help. Yeah, but like you said, they're rolling right now, and battle was already probably at a slight disadvantage there anyway, and probably didn't match up well. If they got injuries and all that going on with them, it's probably not going to be a good week for them. I'm gonna say Lebanon covers it. I'll throw out a 56 to I don't know, 56-7 score. I'll get in.
It's wild because the score that I had wrote down, I had Lebanon 52-8.
Well, man, great minds
So we're pretty close.
think alike. So
yeah. Yeah, Lebanon, like you said, we're going to get into some bigger games here in a few weeks with them, and I'm excited to see that. Well, the next one is probably the best, in my opinion, the best team right now in this area in Single A. We got
War
the Rye
Eagle.
Cove, Rye Cove War Eagles, 5-0. They're playing at Lee, 2-2. Rye Cove is listed as a 23.5-point favorite. So I think per the book, I think that's not bad.
I feel like it. I'm just gonna go ahead and say this real quick before I forget.
Yeah.
I feel like this kind of feels like a trap game. I don't know why. Ever since we've started talking about this game, and I don't know. It just feels like a trap game for some reason. I'm not sure why it is, but I don't even know that much about Lehigh, other than they got a good quarterback. I'll let you go ahead. Maybe you'll fill me in on some things here real quick.
Well, yeah, I mentioned it to you the other day. Much like I think you had brought to my attention Tazewell and Grundy, and I was kind of shouting the Lee and Rye Cove game like as being a potential sneaky game. But before we get into that, I'll just run through this. Rye Cove continued its dominance last week. They won 55-14 against Castlewood. The War Eagles quarterback Landon Lane had 217 yards passing for 2 touchdowns. He ran for 35 yards and 3 touchdowns. So a 5-touchdown game for PDOI its own, Landon Lane.
My guy.
So, yeah. Rye Cove has scored over 50 points in every game this season. So, Lee has had an up and down season so far. Their schedule in a way kind of reminds me of Tazewell's. It's hard to find, like a measuring stick game for them so far. Their 2 losses came from 2 very good teams, and that was Union and Ridgeview. Last week, Ridgeview, so they played, and it was I didn't write it down, but I think it was like 42-0 or something like that. But you mentioned quarterback for Lee, Brennan Pendergraft. He is one of the better quarterbacks, I believe, in the area. But he struggled last week against Ridgeview, and he'll have another good defense this week against Rye Cove. They're very solid, and I think they cover well against the pass. So I'm very intrigued by this game. I think that, like you said, it could be a close one. Well, no, I think it could be a potential trap situation, like you'd mentioned. I'll go ahead and throw out my pick. I think Rye Cove has the better team, but Lee has enough talent. I think on a good day, kind of like how we mentioned Honecker earlier. You never know. Sometimes you got those people back there in the backfield, skill positions, like they just have a really good day. Make it interesting. So I think that Lee could have that Friday. But I do have Rye Cove winning. I think it stays kind of close for a half. But I think the way Rye Cove plays, they just wear on you. Like, we're talking, we'll get into a few tougher games later in the year.
Next week.
But is it next week?
I think so. It's 11th, I think.
I think that's the 17th.
Oh, well, hang on, I'll look.
Okay, you look while I say this. I think that Rye Cove is a team that, we've been talking about who could beat them and stuff, or who could even keep it close right now with the teams they've been playing. But it's so hard. It's going to be so hard to play them and have to go against that rushing attack and not wear down the whole game, because you're going to have bodies that you can keep throwing out there to keep fresh, because they're just so physical. I think the only thing that's going to stand in Rye Cove's way, at least, locally around here right now, is going to be themselves. If you run into injuries, I know they had lost one player in the Honaker game to a broken collarbone, one of the backs, and I hope and pray that of course, I don't want any player in any team to get hurt, but I hope that Ryko stays healthy because full strength, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how far they go this year because they're just so physical.
It's kind of like
yeah,
Honaker last year when Avery got hurt. Like that, as good as they were,
Yeah.
still moving forward. Imagine how much better they would have been with him. I think it's
Yeah,
a different team.
exactly.
I think they probably beat Galax with him out there. I don't know if they win state or not, but it's just a different dynamic having him and Parker both last year. So it's kind of like Rykov this year. One key player's out, it changed your dynamic of your team.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much for them because they're more, it's just a power running game. But the right one gets hurt. I mean, it could be, it could be bad. But I'm like you. Hopefully, everybody stays healthy. Obviously, don't want to jinx anybody, but there's a lot of teams that can say that, obviously. But when a team has a good chance to really make a good run, it's just kind of a magnifying glass on it if it happens.
What did you find out about the Eastside game?
The 11th, unless they've changed it, it's next week.
Yeah,
and I will be at that one. I'm probably going to don't think anybody from work listens to this, but I'm probably going to try to leave work early. Just so I can get over there. I'm very excited about that one, just mainly because of last year the game. So close, but
you do look a little pale. I mean, you might. I don't think you'd be sick tomorrow, but maybe by next week. Yeah, we don't want to risk it.
A little scratchy.
Yeah, you never know. Sometimes it takes like a week to settle in.
Right, but yeah, as far as I don't know what we're talking about. Oh, Rykov beating, not beating, but did you pick a score?
Yeah, so I have Rykov winning. I have 42-28. I think this will be the only time they are under 50. But, obviously I still have them winning by a pretty good margin.
Is that covering? What was it?
The cover was 23.
23?
Yep.
So you got them
I have
barely.
Yeah.
42-20. No, okay. Yeah, it's
24,
14,
I guess what I had them.
Yeah.
14, yeah. On the spot podcast math.
I mean, I think it's 14. Last time I checked,
yeah,
it's
14.
Maybe it's
not, but, you're right.
So you got them covering that pretty easily. Then so Lehigh this year lost to Union and Ridgeview. You said, right? Who was their wins against? Do you know right off?
I thought I had it wrote down. I think they beat they beat Thomas Walker in a close one. I think it was like 28-21. And then they beat Pineview.
Okay. Don't know much about Pineview, but
it was like 50-something, nothing, I think.
Yeah, I could see this. I said this a bit. Where's it at? Right over Lee.
It's at Lee.
At Lee. That might be the only thing. You know what? I'm going to say that Ryko still gets over 50. I'm going to put him at, let's see, 50. Give me forward 54-24. We'll get him. Lee will put up some points late in the game, and they will not cover. Or Ryko will cover the.
Yeah, Ryko. Yeah,
we'll cover the spread. So I don't know. That's probably too many. I'm gonna go with that. Yeah.
All right, this next one. I'm gonna have you guess what you think the line is beforehand. So Graham 5-0 at Marion 0-4.
Oh boy. I'm gonna say they got it at 52 points.
The margin to be 52.
Yeah, the spread. Yeah.
Okay. Graham is a 44.5 point favorite.
I overdid a little bit.
Yeah, 52 is a lot.
It is a lot, but the way you said that, I thought maybe it was really, really out there. So
I was just curious because Marion is obviously down this year, and Graham is definitely not.
Well, their offense. If you listen to the right things and take what people say, it might be a little down, not very good this year, but I think against Marion it'll be just fine, probably. So,
Yeah. Shout out to the one who said that. That was a good show last week. Shout out to him. He knows who he is.
I don't know if I would go as far as say they're not very good, but yeah, against yeah, it'll be 40. They'll cover 44, I think, unless they just don't want to and they want to rest a lot of people. But
I think a lot of those games where it'd be hard is because they might rest somebody at the end.
Yeah.
I think if they wanted to run it up, they could get there.
Yeah.
But I'll throw this out there real quick. Graham is coming off of a surprising game against Virginia High. I did not expect that. I have been, I won't say disappointed, but I think that Virginia High's played under their potential this year.
The third week you said that, so you probably
I know, and that's why I say that, because I was wrong in this situation. The Bearcats actually led in the third quarter. I think it was 14-13, but of course the G-men came away with it. 27-14 was the final. Virginia High also had a few guys banged up. I think both their top receivers, and I know for sure one of them. I think both of them were out for most of the game, if not the whole game. You had mentioned mentioned at the beginning of the podcast with Graham, a lot of the challenges they faced. The effects of storm hit the players, the coaches hard. Many of them was without food, water, of course, power. Some of them were sleeping in their cars when they could sleep at all, and the restaurants in the area were closed. So really very few options to even get food that week. So, and you mentioned the pregame meal was a PB&J on a single slice of bread. And I'm not, like, this is one of the players had told the Bristol paper this. So this is not coming from me, but from one of them. So that's just extremely difficult, situation to be in there. And again, we're sending our thoughts and prayers out to them and the people in that community. But that has to affect the game some. I don't want to take away what Virginia High did, because they also had some guys hurt and they still played with them. So kudos to them. But I think Graham, in this one against Marion, gets back right. They could have a little bit of a game to where they kind of want to take out their frustration a little bit from being close to Virginia High. I don't know, but I think they win easy. Marion hasn't shown a lot of positives this year so far. I don't know if they're rebuilding, what the case is there. I think they, played pretty decent for a half of Gate City last year in the first round of the playoffs, but this year they just don't seem to have the personnel. I have Graham winning 58-0.
15-0. Okay, definitely got them covering. I don't know how much they'll want, how much they'll want to leave their starters in, or even if that, how much they'll want to. I'm assuming they'll let their backups just play and not have any kind of limitation on them. I'm gonna say 50. Well, they're gonna kick extra points. So I'm gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say they're gonna rest a little bit. I'm gonna say 49-0.
Not bad squad. I don't think their defense gives them a point. They didn't at all.
No, they won't.
The first few
Marion
weeks,
Marion won't score. I think they
pride themselves on that.
That's a point of, they're definitely. I can see them scoring less than 44 before I can see them giving up a point.
Yeah, I agree. Next one, Richlands 0-4 at Ridgeview 5-0. You want to take a guess on that one?
What was it? Ridgeview who?
Richlands 0-4 at Ridgeview 5-0.
Well, if they had Graham at Marion 44, this one's probably 35.
So Ridgeview is a 49.5 point favorite. Yep. Ridgeview's offense very explosive.
But I think I would have probably put Graham a bigger favorite than over Marion and Ridgeview over Richlands. But
yeah, I think maybe style of play plays a factor, because Richlands, they like to pass the ball a lot. So, well, I've not got a chance to watch them this year, but I know, based on what I do know, I think they want to pass it more. So maybe the clock's a little bit slower. Marion loves to run the ball.
Yeah,
maybe that affects the odds a little bit.
They don't have time. Yeah, that's true.
But as we mentioned before, Richlands didn't get a play this past week. They're still looking for that first win on the season, trying to build on some positive moments in the games they have played. But the Wolfpack has been one of the most explosive teams in the area this year. 7 different players have caught touchdown passes this year. Oakland continues to showcase his arm with 17 touchdowns so far. And Bristol paper, they did a great write-up on one of their other star players, Hayden Baker. I think we've shared a few highlights of him that's got sent to us. They call him, as mentioned in the paper, Big Play Baker and Baker the Playmaker. So pretty nice little nicknames there for him. He's a 100-meter and 200-meter region track champ. So he's got speed. He's got some wheels on him. So that's just one of their weapons. But when you have somebody that's got speed like that, I mean, that can be an X factor in any game. Then with a quarterback that can throw it too. Like you mentioned, I think you mentioned a few times last week about how last year Oakland got hurt and they had some injuries and stuff like that. So it seems like they're healthy. They're in sync. They have their timing together. They're passing the ball. I think the paper and one part of it mentioned it's like air ridge view. Like instead of air raid, like air ridge view this year. Their passing attack has just been amazing so far. I know the games, be what they are. Some of them, the competition probably doesn't, I don't want to take anything away from them. So I don't want to say anything bad about the other teams. But they did beat Virginia High 21-7. So, and that was with a few more Virginia High's players. So I'll go ahead and throw up my pig just to speed it up a little bit. But I have Ridgeview winning this one. I'm going 54-0. I think Ridgeview will get a win, or Richlands will get a win this year, but I don't think it's going to be this week. When that week comes, we'll talk about it. But Ridgeview could be as good as advertised. I think a lot of us are kind of waiting to see, but I think they could be. I know Tailgate Talk with the boys. We had Aaron on last week. Their episode this week, I think it's going to drop Friday. I'm trying to think what it's called. I think it's Ridgeview. Are they for real? I think, or something like that. And I think it's going to be a point of topic with them, as well as I think it will be for a lot of people until they play one of those powerhouses.
What'd you say your prediction was?
Mine was 54-0.
I'm gonna go 56 to. I don't know if I'm gonna say 7 or 14. 7. I'll give them one. 56-7. I don't think Richland gets on the board late, maybe even twice, but I'm gonna go just say it once.
Did you get a chance to? Did you happen to come across Aaron or any of them last week at the Grundy?
I did actually. As soon as I parked, got out and heard somebody holler at me while I was walking in, and walked in with them. And then they went to the bleachers to sit down. I went across to stand up. So I try to avoid being around people. I'm just kidding. I do like to stand up and walk back and forth during the game. So I went over to the track and stood up. But I got to talk to him for a few minutes. I had hosting. Hurley game was more like kind of like a track meet for hosting, but
yeah, from what I've read, I think that's the case.
But yeah, I got to talk to him for a few minutes. I had a little round trip to Buchanan County. Sounded like made their way around.
I haven't got a chance to ask him or ask Aaron yet how Curran liked Hurley the Cliff.
Yeah,
because it's such a unique place. It might be on this week's episode. I don't know. I'll have to send Aaron a message, and if they haven't recorded yet, I'm going to tell him he's going to have to preview or get his opinion on the Cliff.
Anybody's first trip to Hurley, I got a feeling they're going to at least talk about it. If for nothing else, just the drive and over the turns, over the mountain, the curves, and all that stuff. They'll probably have a story to tell about it. But yeah, I think Ridgeview. I think we'll have plenty of chances for fan submissions this week. Send us some videos, and I think they're almost flying under the radar in the Mountain 7. They're just kind of cruising along. Not a lot of eyeballs as far as like expectations as far as them winning that district, and I think it's probably where they I think they like it like that. I think they could sneak up on. I think everybody in Mountain 7 is very well aware of what they got, but I don't think there's a lot of pressure on them from, as far as that goes. I think that's a good thing for them. I think they can play with house money almost and go out there and just play loose and fly. And I think they could possibly. We'll get into that later in the year. I think it could be some surprising outcomes. That's some games later this season. Let's say that.
Yeah, I can't wait till we get to the playoffs. I haven't thought yet into it, like what and all we gotta do something special for that, and I don't know. We'll see. It's gonna be very exciting, especially when we get to those later games. We'll try to go through some of these next ones kind of quick. I don't want to hold you up too much longer. We got Abingdon 4-1 at Y Central 1-2. Abingdon is a 34.5 point favorite. Abingdon is coming off their first loss against Tennessee High, which is 21-0. That was I think Monday night. The Falcons only managed to get 17 yards on the ground in that game, had several sacks. But that's a pretty big deal considering how great of a rushing attack Abingdon has. So I'll go ahead and my pick. I have Abingdon winning. Y Central just hasn't looked the part this year. I think Abingdon wins this one, and I think Owen Barr from Abingdon has a big game. He struggled last week. I see against Tennessee High. I see him bouncing back this week. And I think Luke Honaker, another one, we mentioned him a few times. Kind of watch out for him in the kick return game, or just even, on the offense. He's a big play guy. You're talking about big play Baker a few minutes ago. It's big play Honaker. That ain't too bad. It still has a little bit of a ring to it, don't it? Somewhat. But I have Falcons winning 44-12.
I'll say call him Highlight Honaker.
Yeah, that's a lot better. I like Honaker. Yeah, trademark. I got 40-12.
4-12. I'm gonna go 52 to 14.
Alrighty. And let's see here. The next one we got Castlewood 0-5 at Northwood 2-2. Northwood is the 16.5 point favorite. Northwood is on a 2-game winning streak with blowout wins over Eastern Montgomery and Twin Valley. There has been some bright spots so far this year for them. Castlewood has been struggling, but playing against some tough competition. They had Rye Cove and Lebanon, I think, back-to-back weeks. Ready for this?
Oh, you ain't gonna do it because I was gonna do it.
Oh, really?
I think.
Well, I tell you,
where's it? I was gonna ask you where it was at.
It's at Northwood.
That's all right.
It's at Northwood. I'll tell you this. I believe the spirit of P. Wade and Chisholm will be strong in the Blue Devils this week. Hard work and the team's commitment to the culture they're trying to build, I think it's going to pay off this week. I have Brady Houchins for them getting 3 or 4 touchdowns in this game, and I have them upset Northwood 28-20. Coach Chisholm getting his first win. You heard it here first.
I think it's going to have more to do with, I think they've played a little bit tougher schedule, and Northwood's played Eastmont and Twin Valley the last 2 games, and I think that little being in the fire and a little bit tougher of a road to get there is going to pay off for Castlewood, and they've been, they're going to come out, and I don't think it's going to be as high a score, and I think I'm going to say 16-14. They win the close one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game especially with the margin of the score. So probably one of the closer games this week. This next one, I think we only have maybe 2 more after that, and I just had them, just go by quick. But this one will probably be on paper the game of the week. If you was to look at, I don't know if Bristol, if they do that or whatever, but I think this would probably be it. It's Rural Retreat 2-2 at Patrick Henry 3-2. Patrick Henry is a 3.5 point favorite. You don't like that?
Well, I guess maybe I don't know enough about Rural Retreat.
Well, I think Rural Retreat, another team really that we don't know yet how good they could be, kind of like Grundy had been, and we mentioned with Tazewell and Ridgeview in maybe a different way, but they have 2 wins over some weaker competition this year. But I think the 2 losses might be their better indication on how good they could be. They lost to a solid program in Grayson County. It's 29-12. I think it was a little bit closer through some of that. Then they played George Wythe last week and lost to George Wythe 28-18. But I think that was a close game for a little bit. So I thought that was maybe a good indication that they have some talent.
Who have they beat? You don't know. That's all right.
I'd have to. Yeah,
don't worry about it.
I might want to sell them out being bad, but they wasn't great competition. They won pretty handily in those games. Indians quarterback Chaz Penrite, teammates Jay Snavely and Jake Rollison had good showing last week and will be important this week. Patrick Henry had that win over John Battle on Monday and we're turning around on a short week. It's worth mentioning. I don't know if you know this. I don't know if I haven't got a chance to tell you, but Tyler Barrett got hurt last week.
I
Their
did not know
lineman.
that.
So he was on the field, I think, through most of the second half, maybe with crutches. But Coach Padgett told the paper that he thought it wasn't serious. Thought about messaging Coach Padgett and seeing if I could get some intel. But I don't know that he'd be willing to, let people know that before the game. But yeah, I think that he'll be all right. Even with him being out that game, or for most of it, PH continued to have a strong running game against the Trojans. Quarterback Alex Brown had 50 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. Eli Delp had 130 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. And the Bristol paper highlighted their running back, the one that replaced Stewart, Mikey Jenkins. He had 150 yards rushing and a score. Jenkins so far has 706 yards rushing on the season, and I guess that's probably the first game Stewart was a starter for most of it, so I don't know how much he got to run the ball. I'm sure he did a little bit. But I absolutely love the quote that he gave the paper. I don't know if you saw it or not, but they asked him about running the ball and stuff, and he said, I like to keep the defenders honest, but mostly I just try to run them over. So, great quote. Seems like a hard-nosed kid.
Are they getting their starter back this week?
I don't think it's this week that I know of.
Okay.
I've not seen otherwise.
Yeah.
Which I haven't seen the previews for this week in the paper. I've seen the recap from last week, but I've not seen the preview going forward.
Well, what's your prediction?
So my prediction, like I said, PH did a lot without Barrett. I think it's a good testament to the system there. I think Coach Padgett, he's got this strong weight room culture, and I think they're very hard-nosed. Even when one player goes out, they just step in and pick up where they left off. It reminds me a lot of Rye Cove and the way they do things over there. So I have PH winning. I have him winning 38-26.
Yeah, if he's not able to go, and I hope he gets better very soon. He's a heck of a player. I hate to see him go down. But if he's not playing, I think they miss him more on defense than they do offense because of what you just said. Their system they run, I think they can still move the ball. I think defensively, the fact that it takes 2 people to block him, and if you take that away, it's just going to be you can maybe get another blocker on somebody on offense for retreat. If he plays, I think it's probably a 42-28 game, 42-25, something like that. If he doesn't play, I could see it being a 36-30, something crazy, inside 10 points. But I still think they're going to win. They'll pick up the win, but I can see it making at least a touchdown and a half. Not a touchdown and a half, but a touchdown to 10-point difference. Him being in the game, yeah. That's see, I don't know enough about Road Retreat, so I maybe way off, but I'll go with the Rebels. What'd you say? The spread was 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5.
Yeah, either way, I think they cover that.
Yeah. And I don't think I got to mention it last week, but I made my first trip to PH, and I didn't get to watch as much of the game I'd like because my toddler was running around. But the field, the stadium, just beautiful. I really enjoyed that. So they got a great venue over there. Like I said, I hadn't got to mention that, I don't think, last week on the episode. But some of these next ones, we'll just go through real quick because I don't have the odds for them. They didn't list it on there. For one, two of them they didn't. So J.I. Burton 1-3 at Eastside, 4-0. I think Eastside is getting a little healthier now, from what I heard. I have Eastside winning that. What do you, if you was to guess odds, what would you put that on?
At least 16 points, maybe probably closer to
16.
Probably closer to 20 something.
Yeah, I was going about 25.
And
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, based on how those other ones are picked, and I'm just going off of Eastside not being like a high, they're gonna run the ball and use a lot of clock.
Yeah,
that's the only reason. I think I was going to give. I think Eastside probably wins 48-7.
Yeah, I have it. I think Eastside's going to win. I would go 36 nothing.
That's probably more
That's what I
accurate
have.
than what mine was, but
No, I mean,
yeah,
that's,
I don't think they'll have
yeah.
much issue. Burton, like I said, is not the old Burton that we know of, and I think they're still. I think they're probably getting better. Obviously, I think this year than last year, but I think they're still in the rebuilding phase of their program right now.
We'll go deeper into Eastside next week if they play Rye Cove next week.
Can't wait.
So yeah, that's Eastside people. We've had a lot of people from Eastside on here in the past, especially in basketball season. Rye Cove, we've highlighted you guys a lot. So yeah, be ready for next week because we'll have something special. Twin Springs 3-1 at Union 3-2. The line on this one, Union is a 18.5-point favorite.
Come on now. Come on
I was
now.
completely joking. I don't mean any disrespect. I don't have the odds for that one. I just wanted to see your reaction for that. And that's no disrespect to Twin Springs. It's just honestly, it's just really unfortunate. This year, Union being one of the top teams in the state, and Twin Springs, what they did have, they've just been hit with injuries and stuff. So it's nothing against them. I just wanted to see what you would say.
Coach Warner for scheduling this game a couple years ago or last year, whenever he did it. They don't match up with Union, and probably most years won't. But they play this game still, and it's I'm sure it's a tall task for them every year, and probably always will be. Just the numbers and the program that Union is, but this year especially with the injuries they've had, and shout out them on getting the win last week or this week. Maybe I'm not sure when they actually played it, but
I think it was Saturday.
But but congratulations! Here's your reward. You get to go play. You get to play Union. It's just I feel bad for them because but just it stinks that they're already disadvantaged numbers wise and just everything. But then you got all those injuries and people playing different positions all of a sudden, and it's just probably gonna be a long night.
I can tell you.
I mean, Union is me. They want to score. Probably nothing.
Yeah.
I don't think West Springs will score probably.
Well, I'll tell you this. I don't think that I don't think Twin Springs are going to feel sorry for themselves. I think that Coach Warner does a good job at getting them in the right headspace. Shout out to them last week with all the injuries and stuff they had. I think that was to get that win after everything they've been going through was huge. So shout out to them. Just great for them to get that win, and shout out to them too because I know they're a part of those teams that have been helping the community, like serve some meals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's unfortunate what they got going on with the injuries and stuff. But Union, talking to Aaron, I think they went to the Gate City game, and Union said it was one of the hardest hitting games they've seen. That game was tight through most of the game. They played it at Dobbins Bennett, as you mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of impressed me with Gate City, so I'm not going to lie. But yeah, I have Union winning. I hate to do this, but yeah, I think it's going to be, I'm going to go 48-0.
If it's only 48, that'd be.
And I think they're going to dial it back.
Yeah, they will. Bit. I think there's a lot of mutual respect there, probably.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah, I won't say anything else. That's right. 48-0 sounds good.
Then last one, I don't know a whole lot about either one of these teams, but Unaka 0-4 at Thomas Walker 2-2. And Thomas Walker, I know they've played close with Lee. They've played probably above expectations in some games this year. But I have them winning against Unaka. I'll say 28-12.
Yeah, old Tom Walker. It's might be one of the few teams on their schedule that don't have to drive a long way to get Thomas Walker, or vice versa. Yeah. Thomas Walker going somewhere else. So, but I think Thomas Walker wins. What'd you say?
28-12.
Well, I'll just say do you want better? I'll say 26-14. Just make it interesting.
Heck yeah. Bye weeks that I know off the top of my head is Holston. So they had that win last week against the Cliff, which is impressive. That was at the Cliff after the storm and all that. tough place to play at. Hurley also has a bye week this week after that game. Twin Valley, their game got postponed. I think they're going to play on the 7th now against Craig County.
I think it's a Monday.
So, yeah, I think it's this next Monday, if I'm not mistaken.
They'll play a Friday game, I think, that same week.
Yeah. Coach Krieger must not be a big fan of Monday Night Football. I think they've played like 3 or 4 games on Monday nights.
Well,
I think they got more coming up.
They've had to.
I know it's not what he's wanted.
But. Some circumstances there, but I think, that's a long trip to make on a Monday night.
Oh, for sure. Which we previewed it last week for Twin Valley and people from Craig County that are listening. We previewed that game last week. So that's our week 6.
Trivia for you real quick. Do you know what Craig County's mascot is? I may be wrong on this, but I think I'm right.
I can see the logo in my head.
If you can see the logo, you should know it. Unless I'm wrong.
Just go ahead and tell me.
I think it's the Rockets, isn't it?
I was sitting there thinking of something like, because I remember seeing the logo having almost like a rocket ship type thing. And you see the tail.
I think that's what it is. I may be completely wrong, but I think, because I always thought that was really interesting, because that's not what I think. I don't know how that come to be, but it's just kind of always thought that was odd. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that could be the case. Here, I'm looking at it. Yeah, they are. They have the rocket ship. It doesn't say, Craig County Rockets. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is an unusual name for Virginia.
So, yeah.
So yeah, that's our week 6 slate. I'm sorry it took a little bit longer. Really dove into it deep. I want you to give everybody your top teams in 1A and 2A before we get off of the high school.
2A right now, I got Graham, Union, and right now I have Ridgeview ahead of Tazewell. Those are my 4. There's some I could got some honorable mentions in there like Gate City and Lebanon, but right now I think that's the top 4 from what I've seen anyway. Top 4 in 1A right now, I think it's Ryco at top. I still have Patrick Henry at 2. It's tough between Patrick Henry East Side. I give Patrick Henry just a slight nod there, but not with all the injuries. If he's Barrett's hurt and the run back ain't back yet, then that probably is flip flops. But then I got East Side and Grundy. I still think Grundy's one of the probably top 4 teams in the region right now. Till I see them show me they're not. Granted, this is being said with me not knowing anything about Chilhowie and Roy Retreat. So, I could be way off, but we'll figure out more about that in the next few weeks.
I know I typically do the rankings. I'll leave that up to you. But I think that I think your 1A is about exactly what I would have had. I think I would have had Rycove, and you said Rycove, Patrick Henry, Eastside, Grundy. I think that's about exactly the way I see it right now in single A.
We'll get into college real quick, and we won't go through any scores unless you just particularly want to go over some games. I just want to get your thoughts so far on maybe some surprises or that you've seen from teams, and maybe who'd you pick early to win it all at the beginning of the year?
I want to say Alabama.
So now, if it was, would you stick with that, or would you pick a new team?
I'll tell you the team that has kind of jumped out at me a lot, and I think matchup wise, when you get in the playoffs, it could make a big deal, is Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And that's because defensively, I think they have impressed me. I think offense, once we saw them put up points first few weeks, I was like, okay, yeah, they got it offensively again, just like they did when they had Hooker. But I think defensively, they have shown me a lot. And I said at the beginning of the year, I thought they could have been like last year's LSU. I thought they could put up numbers, but have numbers put up on them. But so far, they have not. That's not been the case. So yeah, I have Tennessee. I think they play Arkansas maybe this week. And so Arkansas has been a team that could be dangerous, can sneak up on somebody, got a great quarterback. Tennessee would be my team that I could see getting hot and having the right matchups in the playoffs to make it to the end, and who knows? I think it's the best Tennessee team we've seen in a while.
I think they're garbage. I would never give them any kind of credit, but yeah. I think I picked Texas starting out the year. It's hard for me to pick a different team, but if Alabama plays like they did against Georgia or not, then they're the could easily see them. I think this is like the perfect thing for Ohio State. It's kind of getting shuffled back just a little bit that I've forgotten about to an extent. It might not be good when it comes time for the rankings to come out if they keep dropping back, because you'll have a tougher opponent in theory, but kind of flying under the radar. You know what I mean? You got all these other schools that if it's not heard as much about Ohio State as it did early in the year.
Well, competition. They haven't. They play Iowa this week, and that's probably the best team they've played so far.
But I think I'll just stick with Texas right now. I'm not as confident in it as I was at the beginning of the year, which is weird because you would think them jumping to the one spot right now. I think, or maybe they're number 2 now, but you think them jumping, I would be more confident. But just after seeing, there's just so many good teams. And like you said, Tennessee's throwing in. The SEC is ridiculously loaded, especially up top this year. Which they're loaded every year, but this seems like especially this year with Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee. I'm sure there's nothing I'm leaving out. Georgia, if I didn't say them.
Well, you said Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri.
LSU's not
the top
still,
10 team.
Yeah, they're still hanging around there somewhere. Yeah, I mean they're kind of. Texas is technically. So I forgot about them.
Yeah, did we not say Texas? Yes.
I mean, I didn't include them. So really, the whole top 10 is SEC right now. So
yeah.
I forgot
it's going to be hard when it comes to playoff time because it's going to look like SEC bias, but I don't see how, bearing some huge upsets, I don't see how you can't have Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia. Those 4 are top 12 teams, in my opinion.
And you got Missouri sitting in top 10 now. You didn't mention them yet.
I could see Missouri and Ole Miss being teams that might miss out because of like that Kentucky loss. You're
going to have all that. People will be mad about that, and it's probably true. And in reality, most years, and especially this year, at least 6 of the top 12 probably should be SEC teams, if we're being honest. But anyway, my biggest, I don't want to say surprise because I never really completely bought into it, and let myself believe it. But my biggest letdown is obviously Virginia Tech. I thought they were going to be so much. They've shown signs of it, but I thought they were going to be so much more consistent this year and come and jump out to a good start. But after they got robbed in Miami, that kind of, I don't know, took the wind out of my sails. Because they were still fine conference wise, but and they're still not. They still only got one conference loss, obviously. But if they can keep playing a little more like that, I can still see them making an ACC championship game. But
who robbed them? Coach Pry or the rest?
Well, it's a little bit of one of those deals where, if I go outside and I take my wallet out to my vehicle and I leave the door unlocked, I'm not asking. I mean, I'm kind of, or leave it out sitting out somewhere. Technically, if somebody comes and gets it, they're technically robbing me. But I kind of let it happen. That's kind of like what happened to Tech. Like he left front door open basically and said, "Hey, come on in and take this from us." He could have obviously should have kicked it and took the points, but I mean, I don't know. There's conspiracy theories out there. Do I think it was a catch? Probably not. I mean, I don't know. You can't tell much about it. I know he had it at some point. Do I know for sure that he caught it and come down with it and held onto it? No, I have no idea. But the fact that it could have been a terrible call to call it complete, but it was called complete. So you got to go with that. That's ridiculous. They got to figure that out. And it's not only because I'm a Tech fan, but I've seen so much more evidence to overturn a call and it not get overturned before, because they want to say, it's got to be conclusive. And that's apparently not the case in that situation. But anyway, we'll move on. NFL, Cam. Y'all, y'all do Fight Club at night and don't tell anybody in the 49ers, or they just beat it? I mean, what's going on here? Like, what's happening? Is there too much liberal water in California? They're getting poisoned by something? What's happening?
So I do want to say before I get to that on the college thing, when you expect to win 4 games, you don't get real disappointed. We're having a good year in UVA right now. I just want to say that.
And I just want to
when the expectation's 4.
Well, let me
We're
just say
good.
real quick before anybody listens, that's a joke I made about the liberal water. I was just kidding. What I meant by that was,
He meant what he meant.
that's exactly what I meant. But I was going to say something like
Exactly what he meant.
like a vegan diet where y'all not getting enough protein or something. What's going on out there? Because I mean, it's every year, Cam, that y'all are like,
Man, I have no idea what the curse is with us and our injuries. With all the money that we have and the great job we do at roster building, we do a great job, but we cannot find any doctors or, I mean, therapists or something that can,
well, they might have
keep us secure.
moved out of the state. They didn't want to pay all them
Yeah,
taxes
I
that they're
mean,
having to pay out there, I guess.
that's a very well could be. But I'll tell you this: as long as we don't get any major injuries, that is what I'm worried about. If we have one week where somebody tears an ACL or something like that, that could be extremely detrimental. A lot of the guys are planning on coming back that are hurt. I think right now we're trying to weather the storm, and then about mid-year we're going to get big play Dre back, Dre Greenlaw defense. I think as far as vocally, I think Fred Warner, as I've mentioned in our group chat, I think he's playing better than any other defensive player in the whole league right now. Every week he's getting a pick or a forced fumble. He's all over the field. He's been great, but I think vocally, I think that Dre is just such a big part of our team. Like I said, almost like the heart of the team in a way. And so he'll be coming back. Huff just came back. He's an all-pro safety. He did get banged up again, but again, day to day. Bosa's been day to day, but he played out of his mind last week. Had like, if I remember, I sent the stat in there, but like pressure win rate or fastest time getting to the quarterback, or whatever the crazy next gen stat was. It was the best in the last like 20 years. So he's playing great. We have question marks with our opposite corner opposed to Mosley. Not Mosley. Ward. I'm thinking of Manuel Mosley from years ago. From Travarius Ward, opposite side of him, we still have a liability out there. If we can get that taken care of, we got talent. We could still make a run. We just can't lose too many right now while we're trying to get healthy. Right now, McCaffrey's going over to Germany and getting some special treatment. Don't know what that might be, but if he can get his tendonitis, straightened out, that might be all right. Right now, Jordan Mason, in place of him, is on pace for 1,900 yards in the season. He's number one in the league rushing, so there's that kind of helping out. But really, the biggest thing for us, and I hate to run my mouth about them, but nobody's asked me about them in a few weeks, so I'm sorry. So the big thing for us, and I just want to scream this from the rooftops, is Brock Purdy. Greg Olson said last week, everybody questioned him, saying he was a game manager and stuff because of all the talent we had. Well, we haven't had that talent the past few weeks, and he is number one in air yards, like deep passes. I think passing yards, period, he's number one. He has 257 more air yards than anybody else. He is 47 passing touchdowns, which is the most passing touchdowns through a quarterback's first 25 career starts in the 49ers history, which is a pretty good history of quarterbacks. And then he is the highest passer rating through a quarterback's first 25 career starts since 1970 as 112.6. One thing before I leave off of this topic, since the start of last season, Brock Purdy versus Patrick Mahomes. Brock Purdy's 14-6, Patrick Mahomes 14-6. Brock Purdy has more passing yards, 54-10, versus Mahomes is 50-87. His touchdown to interception ratio is better, 36-13. Mahomes 33-19. His passer rating's better. His yards per attempt, not a check down machine. He gets the ball in the air. And the biggest key factor, Greg Olson mentioned last week, is everybody said last year, well, he gets all those yards because the Yak, Debo, and AU, they get the yards. That's what makes him look impressive. This year is the first year in the last 7 years that we are last in the league in Yak, and he's still putting up those numbers. So that's my TED talk on Brock Purdy, and I had to get that off my chest.
I could poke a lot of holes in that, but I'm not going to because I don't necessarily disagree with you what you're saying. But if you wanted to hear an argument coming from the other side, there's a few things I could bring up, but we'll not even fool with it.
We'll get it another day.
Yeah.
Let me have my moment, Jamar. So let me have it.
You're good. My team sucks.
Your quarterback is sucking. He's costing me a fantasy league right now.
Well, he's costing me.
Yeah.
I don't know what. I'm probably going. Which I don't want to say we suck, but because we really should be 3-1 right now, but we've not played anybody that great. Texans are probably the best team we've played, and we should almost beat them. I don't really have anything to say about them right now. I don't want to get into it. It could be better. Let's just say that.
Well, I don't watch you all, but Richardson has the potential, though, I feel like, every week to have a big game. It's just he's not, since week 1, but he has the potential, I feel like. But I will say this before, I know you don't want to get into it too much, time and everything, but why run him when he's hurt on the read option? First play game. I mean,
the guy tells you he's fine. You trust him, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. It's the only thing I can figure.
He didn't look fine on that run.
He probably didn't want to throw it because he probably wanted to try to get points out of that drive. He probably figured he'd throw an interception if he'd let him throw it.
That's probably true. Unfortunately,
maybe for being honest, you know what I mean. Like, I hate to bash on my guys, but what's the coach that coached that was on Netflix? Jason.
Jason Brown.
Jason Brown, yeah, he called him.
I love that guy.
Instead of AR-15, he's called him IR-15 because that's where he's going to be most of his career, and it's looking that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't want to give up yet. He's young. He ain't played a lot of football. He was always a project coming in, and they drafted him because of the upside that he could have. So I just need to relax, I guess, right now and not panic. But it's not that he ain't like reading defense. Like, if the problem was him adjusting to the pro game and him having to learn how to read defenses or something like that. But it's literally overthrowing 5-yard outs or 10-yard turnaround. You're throwing up 2 foot over the head. It's accuracy issues. And I don't know how much. That's what I would worry about. Is like, I know you can probably work on things and maybe, get more accurate, but that's not what accuracy is not what I thought would be the problem. It was learning defense, learning to read defenses and play more games, just getting experience. But it is what it is. I don't know. It's just we're going to go to a game this year, and I'm probably going to get really mad, and I'm probably going to threaten to never go back again, like I always do every year. And next year we'll go to another one and make ourselves miserable. It's what we do.
There you go.
But
the circle of fanhood.
But yeah. But anyway, that's all for NFL right now, I guess. Do you want to touch on, is the 307 this weekend, or is it?
It's this weekend. I'll breeze through it real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm just gonna, we're not gonna go in depth with this. Do a time.
I have a hot take for this, by the way. But go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna just run through some fights, maybe for you to watch, keep an eye out on, some names. So the card is not all that bad from top to bottom, to be honest. It does not compare to the ones we have coming after this, but we'll save that for another, episode, I guess. We do have Stephen Thompson and Joaquin Buckley fighting in the premier fight in the preliminary card. Wonder Boy Thompson, legend in the UFC, super nice guy. Apparently trained with Shane Wicks at some point. That's what Shane said last week. So they trained together at some point. So that's a fight to watch. Your main card, first fight, Roman Dolce. I don't know how you say his name, but we'll say Roman. And this is, shout out to Logan Cantrell. This is his favorite part of the old episodes. Is me trying to, say some of these names. He'll be fighting Kevin Holland. So, for the super active Kevin Holland, just to let you know something about him, Kevin Holland has fought 18 times since 2020, averaging a fight every 3 months in 4 years. So very, very active guy. He's super fun to watch. funny to watch because he talks the whole time. Second fight in the main card, Kayla Harrison, the transfer from PFL, supposed to be the next big thing in the women's divisions. She won her first fight against Holly Holm, which most people know from knocking out Ronda Rousey back in the day. So she's fighting Kellen Vieira. Don't know anything about her, but I'm sure the way the UFC does things, probably a pretty favorable fight for Kayla. They're trying to prop her up, get her, wrap up a little bit. Jose Aldo, that's getting edited.
No, you bet. No, it's not.
That's getting
Don't
edited.
you dare.
Jose Aldo.
No, don't you dare.
I can't ruin a legend like that.
He's
One of the
already
best
ruined.
best bantamweights ever is at the end of his career. He actually retired and came back. I guess got the itch. He won in Brazil a few weeks ago. A month or two ago.
You know what's funny? Because I got it pulled up, the fights.
Yeah.
As you said it, in my head, I read it like that just because you said it.
I don't know why. I've never said it like that
as
before.
you said, I was like, and then you said that. When I went back to read it, I naturally in my head said the same thing, and then it's what kind of made it funnier to me. But that better be an episode.
Well, anyway, he's fighting Mario Batista. A co-main event, Raquel Pennington. I hope I'm saying that right. Against Juliana Pena, which is one of my favorite female fighters. I hate that she took off this time that she did from the Nunes fights. I think, in my opinion, Nunes should have fought her a third time. I think she deserved that. I think Pena fought her a lot better than a lot of people said in that second fight. But that's just my 2 cents on her. I'm very happy to see her back in the ring again. I'm hoping she gets the belt. The main event, Will Roundtree versus Alex Pereira. I've heard so many people say it different ways, so I feel like I'm not wrong in either. Alex, super active fight, super active champion. Shortest time span between 3 UFC title defenses is Alex's 175 days. And that's ahead of Ronda Rousey, Tito, and John Jones. So, very active, loves to fight. I think one time he was on a press tour before UFC 300. They called him up within like a few weeks, and he said, "Yeah, let's go." So, super fun fighter to watch. He knockout machine. Roundtree's the same way. The only thing I have to say as far as on this fight, I wanted to tell people, most of y'all probably know about Alex. He's beat Izzy, and he's at the top of his game right now. For Roundtree, I just wanted y'all to know, very quick rundown of his story. When Roundtree was 2, his father was a road manager for the Boys to Men, and he was shot and killed during a robbery in Chicago. Through his family's background, Roundtree was deeply connected with music. He taught himself multiple instruments and made his own music. However, Roundtree struggled to fit in and was bullied a lot in Las Vegas, which is hard to imagine now looking at him. But 19 years old, his mental health declined, and he turned to drinking, smoking, just eating unhealthy. He ended up being 300 pounds. So, due to a near heart stoppage, he kind of realized that he needed a change in his lifestyle. So, he joined an MMA gym. It was a Muay Thai, I guess, gym or training Muay Thai to lose weight. Within a year, he lost 100 pounds, noticed a huge difference in his health, began competing, starting to get that itch, I guess, to be a fighter for his career. And his first 3 career fights, he won, and then he went to the Ultimate Fighter and shortly got into the UFC. So, very quick turnaround for him from where he was, what he was going through, and his state of his health to now fighting in the UFC title fight. He's on a 5-fight win streak right now, and I think I've seen some people. I think Chael Sonnen might have been one that actually predicted him to win this fight. So, we'll see coming up. I don't know if you want to say who you think would win, but I think that it'll be a very fun fight. And neither one of them take people down. By the way,
that's my hot take. Is I think he pulls off the upset.
Be big. I don't know what the odds
not as much
are
of a
for
hot
this
take
one,
after
but
you sit there and talk about how other people thought he was going to win. Thought I was going to.
Well, Chael Sonnen.
I thought I was going to have breaking news, but it's me and the the great one, Chael Sonnen, both have think alike, I guess. So.
Well, I mean, good company to be in. I don't know on the spot here. I got it pulled up.
It's like
the
minus
odds
500.
Yeah, minus 500. So yeah, might be worth seeing there if you wanted to put something down on it. But yeah, I mean that's all I got on the UFC. Huge fight coming up after this, and I definitely want to see it because it's my favorite fighter, Max Holloway. We find Ilya Tapora, so that's the next card.
Are we watching Saturday or no?
I'll let you know.
Okay.
I don't know yet. I wouldn't mind to,
Okay.
but I'll let you know.
Sounds good.
So yeah, I guess that's everything, guys. Thank you for sticking with us. For the ones who made it to the end, this is kind of like an old throwback. I had a lot of fun doing this. I think it kind of brought back some memories to when we did it last year, so it was nice. I didn't mention at the beginning of the episode, but again, I've been putting out there any sponsors, call us up. Any local businesses, you can send us a clip. We'll put it in to advertise for you. We'll figure out something as far as how all that's going to work out. But thank you guys again. Thank you for the support. Share this. Go down on Facebook. Hit the share button. Spotify. It's on all of them. Next week we'll get back to the players and coaches. It's a big week. It's Rykov and Eastside, and I can go ahead and tell you that'll be our game of the week, even where we're at now. Anything you got, Jamar?
No, if you're at the Grundy game Friday, see me, whatever. Give me a holler, come up, chat, whatever. We're open to. Want to buy a hot dog? I'll take it. Then
You'll
next,
get that hot dog
yeah,
eventually.
and then obviously we're going to talk about it next week. But next week I'll be at the Cove, Lord willing. I'll probably be with. I'm not sure about Katie's kids if they'll be there or not. I may be with 4 little Rugrats running around playing more than watching the game. I don't know that they'll be there or not where it's a road game. But anyway, yeah, I'll be over there. But this Friday, if you see me, holler at me. Throw stuff, whatever.
Heck yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's going to sum it up for another week. Thank you and God bless.